Part 5. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 41. Chapter 41, The Sloppy Old Man in the Dharma Hall. Qian Dinglin received the divine fire order and led Su Junming and others to the white marble square in front of the main hall. Su Junming looked up and saw that on the lintel of the main hall, there were 3 official script characters engraved on the bronze plaque, Shangqing Palace. "We're here, Yangxian, go back to the law enforcement hall and give your orders." "Yes." "Simu, take this kid to the preaching hall to receive the seal." "As you command." After giving instructions, Qian Dinglin flew into Shangqing Palace and disappeared. "Simu, Master Nephew Su, I have to go back to the law enforcement hall, let's separate here." "That's fine. When our master and apprentice are finished, we will go to the Qingxiazue to find you." Yang Xian nodded, flew down the steps, and soon disappeared. "Let's go too," Sima greeted. "Master, the inner gate of our mission Nanzong is not too big, and it looks very simple." Before Su Junming came here, he thought that the inner sect of mission Nanzong would occupy several mountain tops, with strange peaks and rocks, layers of greenery, thousands of auspicious colors, and thousands of brilliance, as described in the Xiangxia novels he had read in his previous life. He did not expect that it would be just one. The valley hasn't been fully occupied yet, and I haven't seen much of the fairy spirit. Even the most magnificent Shangqing Palace was no different from the Tehi Palace in the Forbidden City he had seen in his previous life. It just looked stronger and cleaner. Of course, the numerous restrictions inside are not included. Our mission Southern Sect has a total of 4 Jindan elders and 100 formal disciples in the Xiantian stage. If you take into account those who set up the dojo outside like me and you, Uncle Lin, there are only 7 in the mission main altar. There are about 80 people, so naturally it won't be too big. As for luxury, haha, I am a Taoist who only pursues the path and has always been simple. As for a gorgeous palace, that is what ordinary people in the world pursue." Su Junming nodded in agreement. The two walked along the steps and down to the square in front of the Shangqing Palace. There were roads paved with bluestones in front and on the left and right. "Master, why is there no one here? Doesn't the sect need anyone to guard it? Everyone is studying Taoism and studying the mysteries, so there is no time to hang out. As for the guards, the entire inner gate of mission is placed under the 5 elements formation. Unless we are disciples, who can enter? Can this formation also detect our cultivation techniques? Of course not. Then how did I get in just now? Of course it's Grand Master Qian. Without him, we would have to report from the main entrance before being brought in by the disciples on duty." "Where is the main entrance?" Su Junming nodded and continued to ask. "It's at the crevice in the rocks where the river flows out." Following the direction of his fingers, Su Junming saw an unknown deep rock gap passing through the mountain in the distance. The master and apprentice talked while walking. Simu took the opportunity to introduce Su Junming some rules and architectural layout of the inner gate of Luofu Mountain, and soon they left the Shangqing Palace. Passing through a bamboo forest at the back, turning around a mountain rock, the view opens up. A big hall with red walls and grey tiles appeared in front of you. There are 3 large characters in regular script on the plaque in the middle of the main hall, Xuanfa Hall. "This is it, let's go." Following his footsteps, Su Junming walked through the small square paved with bluestones, stepped onto the 3 stone steps, walked 4 meters forward, crossed the 1-foot-high gate, and walked into the Dharma transmission hall step by step. In the grand hall, the light is not dim, and illuminated by dozens of pearls on the top of the hall, it is as bright as day. In the middle of the main hall is a shrine enshrining the statues of the 3 pure ones. On the altar table in front of the shrine, incense smoke curled up from the brass stove, 3 fingers thick, and some pastries and fruits were placed on both sides. There is also a shrine on the left side of the main hall, but instead of enshrining a clay statue, There are 5 portraits and about 200 tablets on the lower partition. Among the 5 portraits, the 4 on the left and right of Su Junming are unclear, but the middle one is indeed the founder of the Mission Nanzong sect, Bao Pusaji Hong. He had seen it at his master's and Uncle Ju's homes. At the front is also an offering table, with 3 incense sticks and several plates of fruits. In the shrine on the right side of the main hall, there are brass lotus lamps placed one after another. Most of the lotus lamps are burning with white flames the size of fingertips, with varying degrees of brightness. The top 4 lights are distinctive blue flames, also of different shades. In addition, each lotus lamp has a name engraved on it. Hoo-hoo! The loud roar destroyed the solemn atmosphere in the hall. An old Taoist priest, wearing a sticky green robe that looked like it hadn't been washed for several years, with a tangled grey beard and a red wine gourd in his left hand, was lying on his back on several stacked futons, sound asleep. At his feet, a bald-tailed yellow dog lay listlessly. However, when Su Junming and Sima came in, the dog suddenly raised its upper body, and its eyes shone brightly, making Su Junming feel the pressure he had not seen for a long time. But soon, it yawned again and lay down. "Master!" Just as he was about to speak, he was interrupted by a wave of 4 eyes. After signaling his disciple not to say anything with his eyes, he came to stand 3 meters in front of the old Taoist with a rare respect on his face. "Disciple Simu, pay homage to our uncle." Su Junming did not dare to neglect, and also bowed and saluted. The sloppy old man was silent for a while, but his eyes didn't make the slightest move to straighten up. If he didn't move, Su Junming naturally didn't dare to move either. The dog's cultivation just now was higher than his, let alone an experienced one. About 5 or 6 minutes later, the old Taoist priest stopped snoring and opened his drunken eyes. The clear black and white eyes were lifeless, but when he looked at them, Su Junming instantly felt as if his whole person had been seen through. While feeling dark in his heart, he understood that the cultivation level of this sloppy old Taoist was probably still higher than that of the fire Taoist Qian Dinglin. "You're so young and you're so accomplished." Turning his eyes, he looked at Simu. "Are you this brat's master?" "Uncle, that's right." "How do you deserve to be your master?" "He has just entered Xiantian and has already practiced the 2 Taoist methods of pure Yangbagua and Shen De Zhenju. Are you not afraid of delaying his path in the future?" "Uncle, my apprentice has an astonishing understanding. After practicing Taoism for 3 years, he has fully understood the golden talisman. In less than a month of advance to Xiantian, he has understood the white basic talisman of the Shen De Zhenju. If he only masters one skill, I'm afraid it will be a waste of his time." "Comprehension." There was a hint of surprise in the sloppy old Taoist Z's eyes. "You can compare with the Changqing boy." After mumbling, he stretched a lot, yawned, and got up from the ground. He twisted his waist and shook his butt, like a beggar who had just woken up. It was such a comfortable sleep. As he spoke, a pair of dirty hands reached into the Taoist robe and touched it. After a short time, he took out a unicorn button and a square-inch red seal. "Boy, relax." Su Junming nodded. A flash of red aura emerged from the seal, and then he saw the sloppy old man covering his forehead from a distance. A stream of red light flew from Su Junming's forehead like lightning, and then fell into the dantian along the dew vein. Looking inside, I found an illusory red seal of unicorn button, floating above the dantian, emitting a dim light. The divine patterns in the seal were appearing and disappearing. They were extremely complex and beyond his understanding. Su Junming did not dare to look at them any longer and quickly withdrew. At this time, the sloppy old Taoist had already put the red seal back into his arms. With a wave of his hand, a new brass lotus lamp flew out from under the tablecloth of the shrine on the right side. "Boy, input a little bit of your spiritual consciousness." Su Junming did as he was told. "Call." A large white flame ignited on the wick of the brass lotus lamp. "May I have your name?" Su Junming. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw the three traditional Chinese characters Su Junming floating on the lotus lantern holder, with iron-painted silver hooks, showing a sharpness. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 42. Chapter 42, The Divine Fire Seal of the Nine Immortal Capitals. Take it over there and put it away. Su Junming carefully held the lotus lantern and walked to the shrine on the right. After looking at it, he found a free position and put it down. Immediately afterwards, the sloppy old Taoist took out a gleaming jade book from his arms. Your name? Disciple Simu, Taoist Master Simu said quickly. Who is your master? Respect my son Li Changdao. The sloppy old man turned over. Found it? You also have a senior brother named Lin Feng Xiao. Exactly. This name belongs to the girl's family. The sloppy old man muttered. Su Junming wanted to laugh a little. If Uncle Ju heard this, his expression would definitely be wonderful. Okay, from now on you will be the Chong generation and will be subordinate to Lu Sanlang. After saying yes respectfully, Su Junming looked at his master. This was the first time he heard the name of a layman in Shimu. After the old Taoist priest included Su Junming in the list of mission disciples, he put away the jade book and waved his hand. Okay, you can go. Disciple, resign. Su Junming bowed behind him and exited the Dharma transmission hall with his 4 eyes. Master, is this the end? 4 eyes nodded. Received the Dao seal of the 9 Elder Immortal Capital Divine Fire Seal, lit the natal spiritual lantern, and entered the directory. From now on, you will be the 23rd Chong disciple of my mission southern section. Don't you have a road number? You have a beautiful idea, I haven't given you a name as your master yet. After a pause, there was a hint of longing on his 4-eyed face. According to the rules of the cultivation world, only those who have entered the golden elixir are eligible to enjoy the Taoist title. At that time, the sect will hold a Dharma meeting, summon colleagues from the entire cultivation world, and announce the Taoist title in public. It's a sight to behold. Su Junming couldn't help but reveal a trace of yearning on his face. After a while. Master, that old Taoist priest just now is also the Jindan senior of our mission Nanzang. What do you call it? Have no idea. Have no idea. What are you yelling about? That old Taoist is the most senior elder of our southern sect in mission. His name has not been used for many years. He usually guards the Dharma transmission hall and never leaves easily. I am called Uncle Master by everyone up and down mission. Su Jun nodded clearly. Master, remember you told me that our mission southern sect has 3 major sect-suppressing spiritual weapons. Is the 9 Elder Immortal Capital Divine Fire Seal one of them just now? Above the magic weapon is the spiritual weapon. For Su Junming, the spiritual weapon is a legendary thing. He has only heard of it but never seen it. So I am very curious. 4 eyes nodded. The 9 Lao Immortal Capital Divine Fire Seal is a top-grade spiritual weapon. Together with our mission's 5 elements formation diagram and sapphire spirit staff, it is also known as the 3 treasures of the Luofu. It is extremely powerful. It is said that it was owned by Master Ge Hong thousands of years ago. Keep a treasure with you. It would be great if I could have such a treasure, Su Junming said with envy. My mission Nanzang has accumulated only 3 spiritual weapons in 2,000 years. You better save it, kid. However, now that you have received the Taoist seal, although it is not the original spirit weapon of the 9 Lao Immortal City Divine Fire Seal, it is still better than get a low-grade magic weapon, which can protect you from external demons and avoid the intrusion of yin evil spirits during cultivation. Spiritual weapons are indeed powerful. Just a few seals can exert the effect of a low-grade magical weapon, Su Junming praised. Of course. The wonders of spiritual weapons cannot be expressed in words. The master and the apprentice were fascinated, and it took a long time to calm down. Okay, it's getting a little late. I'll take you to Myuja to stay for one night, and then go to the Tibetan scripture pavilion tomorrow to get the skills. Master, where is Myuja? That was your master's residence. Later, after he passed away, the place became empty. Your master and I would stay there occasionally when we returned to the section. Su Junming nodded. Following the four eyes meandering along the bluestone road, after crossing a stone bridge, many antique courtyards made of bamboo, wood, and bricks appeared. These courtyards are separated from each other by trees, flowers, grass, or springs, ponds, and rock areas. The architectural styles are different, but the aura is shining and the scenery is extraordinary. It is obvious that every courtyard is shrouded in formations and is an occupied place. Here we are, right here. Looking at the two-story building in front of him, which was made of fences and made of bamboo and bricks, Su Junming looked at it for a moment, looked up at the three words Myuju on the plaque above the courtyard door, turned his head, and was about to ask how to get in. But he saw his four eyes pinched a few fingers, and then he padded forward from a distance. A transparent film suddenly appeared, and then slowly retreated to the left and right. Let's go. Opening the door with four eyes, Su Junming followed closely. Master, was that the innate 8 diagrams array method of dismantling the array just now? Did your uncle teach you? Simu nodded and said. Yes. It's just a beginner, so I'm not very familiar with it yet. It's already very good. What your master was best at back then was the pure Yang Bagua. The Bagua mirror combined with the innate Bagua formation suppressed countless demons and ghosts. Unfortunately, I still couldn't understand the true meaning of Chun Yang. In the end, I only practiced Shen De Zhen. Ju. If I didn't know the techniques for entering the formation, I still wouldn't be able to enter this Myuju. An inch is short, but a foot is long. The master is not good at the pure Yang Bagua, but he has perfected the Shen De Zhenju, and he can become an immortal and an ancestor in the future. Haha, you kid knows how to pick up nice things to say. I don't dare to think about becoming an immortal, an ancestor, and a teacher. In the future, I can achieve the golden elixir, and it will be enough to facilitate my wishes. While they were talking, the two walked through the front yard surrounded by flowers and plants and came to the door of the house. There was a little dust scattered on the wooden door woven with green bamboo. I drew a dust-repelling charm with my eyes in the air. In the blink of an eye, the wooden door and the window next to it became as clean as new. The door was unlocked, and Simu pushed it open with a creak and walked in. Facing the front is a hall of about 50 square meters. Opposite the door in the hall is a hanging painting with the word Tao in it. The calligraphy is vigorous and clumsy, giving off a feeling of being floating out of the dust. Next is an 8 immortals table with 2 armchairs. On the left and right sides are 2 armchairs and a high table. On the whole, it is no different from the living room of ordinary wealthy people. Around the living room, on the left is the study. Sitting north and facing south, there is a portrait of Ji Hong, the founder of the southern sect of Mission, enshrined. Because no one has worshipped it for a long time, the incense in the copper furnace has long been extinguished. Around the living room is the bedroom on the right, and the door is closed at the moment. In the middle of the hall, on the left side of the hanging painting with the word, there is an aisle leading to the back. After going around, directly opposite, there is a door leading to the backyard. There is a pomegranate tree planted on the left side of the backyard. On the right side is half an acre of medicinal fields, where common medicinal herbs such as polygonatum, ginseng, poria, ganoderma lucidum, and so on are planted. A relationship that may be neglected may not grow well. There is an upward staircase behind the Dao hanging painting, leading to the second floor. There are 4 rooms on the second floor, a study room and 3 bedrooms. The entire Myuja covers an area of about 2 acres, which is not big, but not small either. At least it is enough for Su Junming and Simu to live here. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 43. Chapter 43, Celestial Eye Talisman. After offering good incense to the ancestor, the master and the apprentice used dust-repelling charms to clean the entire room, clean up the dead branches and leaves in the yard, and trim the weeds in the medicine field, and the night became thicker. They are already capable of fasting and do not need to eat. After finishing his work, Su Junming took 2 deck chairs and placed them under the pomegranate tree in the backyard, and the master and apprentice sat down respectively. There are stars in the cloudless sky, and the full moon as big as a silver basin casts a faint silver glow, covering the earth with a beautiful white gauze. Master, the moonlight is so beautiful tonight. 4 Eyes nodded, a look of memory on his face. I think at the beginning, your master liked to sit here and look at the moon, and then tell me and your uncle some strange things in the practice world. Now think about it, more than 30 years have passed in a flash. Turning to look at him, Su Junming hesitated for a moment. Master, how did the master pass away? Have no idea. Have no idea. 4 Eyes nodded. Back then, your master's cultivation had reached the innate perfection, and he went down the mountain to practice in order to seek a breakthrough. In the next 2 years, the soul lamp in the hall of transmission suddenly went out. Our sect has been searching for many years but there are no clues. Master Sun used the Dian divine calculation calculating the secrets. I can only calculate that the place of death of your master is in West Kunlun. But the West Kunlun mountains are thousands of miles long, and there are no less than 1,000 mountains. If you want to find someone out of thin air, let alone looking for a needle in a haystack. After the sect searched for 3 years without any results, it gave up. Didn't Master's soul return to the underworld? No. So you make 1 trip every year to West Kunlun to find the whereabouts of your master? Not just me, your uncle will also go to West Kunlun every 6 months to search for 3 months. It's a pity that we have no clues at all for so many years. His eyes turned around. Junming, after your uncle and I pass away in the future, the task of finding your master's whereabouts will fall on you. Yes, this disciple must do his best to find the whereabouts of his master. Feeling that the atmosphere was a bit heavy, Su Junming quickly changed the topic. Master, all disciples of our sect are qualified to choose 1 Taoist method and 3 talismans to practice in the Sutra Pavilion. In addition to the Shen de Zhenju, which 3 talismans did you choose? Do you know why my teacher is called 4 Eyes? Isn't it because you are wearing glasses? Of course, Su Junming only said this in his heart, and still shook his head on the surface. Come and see. A double image of a pair of pupils suddenly appeared in the 4 Eyes, and a burst of light that was more than a foot long made Su Junming subconsciously avoid his eyes. This is called the Tianmu Talisman, and it is one of the 36 talismans in my Mission Mountain. If you can practice it to the peak, you will have 100 miles of land within your sight. Su Junming was a little envious. His bronze mirror could break through illusions and preserve reality, but it couldn't be seen at a glance. What level have you reached? The 4th stage of the white fundamental talisman is only a little short of achieving the blue fundamental talisman. In terms of the Tianmu talisman alone, no one in this sect can surpass you, Master, and me, Simu said proudly. Master is really amazing. Su Junming complimented him at the right time. Of course. What are the other 2 talismans? The Pagoda Talisman and the Puppet Talisman. The former coincides with the way of the central Wutu, which is extremely hard. If it is practiced and used, it can form a golden light pagoda outside the body to protect the body and eliminate enemies. It has endless magical uses. It is a pity that I am not qualified as a teacher. I am limited, and I have never been able to understand the 3 flavors, and I have never started to learn it. After sighing. As for the puppet talisman, it is my Taoist method of refining the guardian gods and Tao soldiers. Simu stopped talking and said nothing more. Obviously, this puppet talisman is the same as the pagoda talisman and has no entry level. Knowing that his master had a good reputation, Su Junming did not criticize him. Master, what 3 kinds of talismans does Master Lin practice? Your uncle practices the demon-slaying sword talisman, the ghost-slaying talisman and the sacred foot talisman. Except for the ghost-slaying talisman, he has not started with the other 2. No wonder my uncle likes catching ghosts so much. After muttering, Master, is there any difference between the demon-slaying talisman and the demon-slaying sword talisman? The demon-slaying talisman is one of the basic talismans of the demon-slaying sword talisman. It coincides with the Western Zhengjin way. I taught you the golden sword talisman and iron sword talisman, and the more recent step is the demon-slaying sword talisman. At the same time, the demon-slaying sword talisman is also a true talisman among the 36 talismans of our sect that can be practiced to the level of red talisman. Su Junming suddenly realized that no wonder he could not integrate the demon slayer talisman after he understood the Swanyan ghost-slaying sword. It turned out that the 2 were fundamentally different Taoist methods. The demon-slaying talisman belongs to the Western Zhengjin, which is the golden path. As for the Xianyin ghost-slaying sword, the emphasis is on Xianyin, not on the sword. The sword is a form, but it is fundamentally the way of Xianyin among Taiyin, Shaiyin, and Swanyin. After getting rid of the confusion in his heart, Su Junming felt that the spiritual platform was clear and he had more understanding of the Swanyan ghost-slaying sword. Next time I see Uncle Ju, I must learn the demon slayer sword talisman, Su Junming thought to himself. Master, I have only heard you say that we have 36 talismans in mission, but I have never heard you say it in detail. Today I have a chance, please tell me about it. 4 Eyes nodded. Tomorrow I will take you to the Tibetan scripture pavilion to select exercises. I will take advantage of today's opportunity to tell you about it. In addition to the several talismans mentioned earlier, mission, also have soul-binding talismans, earth-opening talismans, mountain-bearing talisman, waterproof talisman, fireproof talisman, golden body talisman, giant power talisman, fire crow talisman, Tai talisman, Hushan talisman, soul-leaving talisman. The pot heaven talisman? Is it the method to open up the cave? Su Junming's eyes lit up. The treasure he longs for is space treasures such as storage bags. When the time comes, he won't have to carry a heavy deerskin bag all the time. After looking at him with 4 eyes, he nodded. Although the Hushan talisman is wonderful, I advise you not to try it. Why? The Hushan magic talisman contains the Tao of the cave, which is obscure and profound, 100 times better than other methods. Countless seniors of the sect have spent their whole lives, but they have not been able to get in. Even if they have a little understanding, they are only at the white talisman stage. At this time, Hushan the talisman has neither a way to kill the enemy nor a way to protect oneself. Even if you want to refine the treasure of the cave, you need an innate spiritual creature with the 5 elements gathered together. But such a treasure is rare. Your master and I have never heard of it, even though I have been practicing Taoism for a long time. Judging from Su Junming's expression, it was obvious that he didn't take his words to heart. Simu was not surprised by this. Young people are arrogant, especially when their apprentices have excellent qualifications and amazing understanding, and their arrogance is better than ordinary people. If he doesn't suffer a little loss and hits the wall, he won't look back just by what he says. But he didn't know that Su Junming had a treasure that could help him achieve enlightenment. Master, can you teach me the pagoda talisman and the puppet talisman? You are my disciple, so if you want to learn, it's okay. But again, you can't bite off more than you can chew. You have to weigh the trade-offs carefully. Although Simu loves face, his method of teaching his disciples focuses on guidance rather than imposing rules, which is completely opposite to Uncle Ju. This method is just right for Su Junming. Thank you, Master, for your teaching. I will definitely remember it in my heart. Become a disciple of Taoist priest for us. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 44. Chapter 44, The Position of Senior Brother. Early the next morning, the master and the apprentice finished their morning lessons, offered incense to the ancestor, and walked out of the Muwuju. After last night's chat, Su Junming already had a good idea of the fundamental Taoist Dharma and true talisman chosen today. For us. Not far from Muwuju, a middle-aged Taoist priest wearing a green robe, with 3 strands of long beard on his chin and a slender face came towards him. Ginger idiot. The anger flashed across Zhang Kun's brows. I thought you had died outside after not returning to the sect for many years. Both and each other, I haven't heard from you for many years. I also thought that you had already gone to the Yama Palace and been reincarnated as a person wearing hair and horns. The 4 eyes sneered unceremoniously. Humph, your bad mouth is still so sinister. I just don't know if your Taoism is as powerful as your mouth. Hee, if you want to have a taste, I will accompany you till the end. Zhang Kun smiled coldly and glanced at Su Junming aside. Is this your apprentice? Doesn't it look good? Although Junming is not outstanding, he is still 100 times better than your useless apprentice. He rolled his eyes and a smile appeared on his face. Zhang Daizai, the 2 of us have competed more than a dozen times, and each time there is no winner. There is no point in continuing the competition. How about letting our respective disciples fight on our behalf? If your apprentice wins, I will hand over the corpse-binding rope in my hand. If my apprentice wins, give me the purple sun bagua diagram in your hand. Humph, you have a beautiful idea. My purple sun bagua diagram is only 5 forbidden medium-grade magic tools, and your corpse-binding rope is just 2 forbidden low-grade magic tools. Unless I am crazy, I will follow you. Change. What if I add my 500-year-old Nanmu heart? There was a hint of emotion in Zhang Kun's eyes, but after his eyes glanced at Su Junming, he snorted coldly and turned around to leave. I'm too lazy to care about you. Looking at his retreating back, he sighed with pity in his eyes. This guy is still the same as before. He never does anything he is not sure about. What a pity. Otherwise, with his purple sun bagua diagram, your natal magic weapon will be found. Having said this, Taoist priest Simu's face darkened. Su Junming knew at a glance that he wanted to blame himself for not practicing the Diang straw mat given by Uncle Ju into a formation. At that moment, he quickly changed the topic. Master, what's the name of that uncle just now? It seems like you don't have much dealing with him. She glared at him fiercely and changed the words on her lips. That guy's name is Zhang Kun. Strictly speaking, you should call him uncle. His master Shui Gongdao and your master Li Changdao are brothers in the same school. I see. But with this relationship, shouldn't your relationship with Master Zhang be even closer? That was true before, but since he got together with Shi Jian, we have become estranged. Especially when our mission sect competed 10 years ago, this guy used his close relationship with your uncle to trick out his progress in practicing Chunyang Bagua, and secretly informed Shi Jian that your senior uncle would be 1 step behind in the competition. Move, it is really hateful to lose the position of senior brother named K. Su Jun nodded clearly. Master, the ranking of elder brother is not based on the order of entry, but based on personal strength. That's right. Mission, always put those who are able first and do not stick to vulgar etiquette. Master, what are the benefits of winning the position of leader? She glanced at him before clearing her throat. Of course there are benefits. The first one is the opportunity to inherit the position of leader of our sect and take charge of the Jade Spirit staff in the future. The second thing is that you can freely study the many classics and practice notes of seniors in the Sutra Pavilion. The third one, you can receive a Byang pill every 3 years. This pill is refined with 1,000-year-old red fruits. It is a high-quality spiritual pill that can enhance your spiritual practice. For the fourth pile, you can enter the Treasure Pavilion to select a medium-grade magical weapon. The fifth pillar is to enter the Shangqing Palace to practice. The Shangqing Palace is the hub of our sect's 5 elements formation. The spiritual energy is richer than the outside world. If you practice in it, you will get twice the result with half the effort. Are these 5 benefits enough? Su Junming's eyes shone brightly and he nodded vigorously. These 5 benefits include power, reputation, and strength. Anyone who listens to them will have the desire to fight for them. Su Junming, in particular, was hesitating between the Supreme Purity Divine Thunder technique and the Divine Fire order for the next step. If he can seize the position of the Chong generation senior brother in the future and let him read all the Kung Fu books in the Sutra Pavilion, then there is nothing to hesitate about. With limited qualifications as a teacher, there is no hope for you to be a senior brother of the K generation in this life. But Junming, your qualifications are 100 times better than being a teacher. Practice hard and win the position of a senior brother of the Chong generation. Has hope? Yes. The disciple must work hard to practice and win the position of leader of the generation with the word Chong, adding glory to the master. Four Eyes nodded with satisfaction. Master, I saw that the uncle just now was full of wood energy. How could he have a pure yang magic weapon like the purple yang bagua diagram in his hand? That is the natal magic weapon of his master Shui Gongli. It is a pity that he has never been able to realize the pure yang. On the contrary, he has achieved quite a lot in the wooden dharma. A pure yang magic weapon, the purple yang bagua diagram, is in his hands. The pearl is darkened. Originally, I planned to use the 500-year-old Nanmu heart given by your master to seduce this guy into a gambling fight. With his apprentice's ability, he is definitely not your opponent. By then, he will earn the purple sun bagua diagram as the treasure of your life can also save you a lot of hard work to find it. I didn't expect that this guy didn't fall for it. It's a pity. Su Junming nodded and smiled slightly. Master, the 500-years-old heart of Phoebe is a rare and medium-grade spiritual object. I didn't expect you to have such a treasure here. Why have I never heard of you mentioning it before? This treasure is the same as the Diang straw mat given to you by your Uncle Lin. They were both treasures given to us by your master back then. They were originally meant for us to practice our natal magic weapon. But by chance, your uncle got one. The fire spirit copper was sacrificed and refined into the natal magic weapon pure yang bagua mirror. And I got a piece of earth marrow stone and carved it into a statue of the martial saint. It turns out that your master and I have not used the 2 treasures given by your master. However, I won't give them to you, this 500-year-old Nanmu heart. That kid from Jia Le is not as qualified as you. It's just a matter of luck he is even more inferior to you. In the future, he will most likely have to rely on me as his master to help him achieve enlightenment. Your master, I don't have many treasures in my hands, so I can only selfishly give more to your junior brother. If I become a Taoist in the future, you will inherit my martial saint statue. Master, don't worry. I am Jiali's senior brother. I will do my best to help him cultivate Taoism. In addition, Master is now in the prime of life and will have plenty of time to study the wonderful truths of the golden elixir. Why bother talking about Taoism? Haha, yes. Your master, I am still very young. The 4 Eyes laughed loudly, but in their hearts they did not have much confidence in the golden elixir method. Under the divine thunder of heavenly calamity, magic power, realm, opportunity, and luck are all indispensable. It is too difficult to achieve enlightenment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 45. Chapter 45 8-Color Echevarria. While the master and apprentice were talking, they came to a courtyard along the bluestone path. The architectural style was similar to the Dharma transmission hall that Su Junming went to yesterday. However, the writing on the lintel plaque changed to Sutra Tiding Pavilion. Following his four eyes, Su Junming stepped in. There was a palace in front of him. Before he could look around, a heavy pressure instantly hit his heart. It seemed as if as long as he made a rash move, he would instantly feel thunderous, which made Su Junming's heart tremble. What a powerful restriction! This is normal. As the mission sex inheritance center, it would be strange if there were no forbidden laws of interest. Greetings to Uncle Sun with four eyes. Su Junming then bowed and saluted. A short and fat old Taoist nun sat cross-legged on a futon in the middle of the hall and opened her eyes. Humph! Where is that heartless guy of your senior brother? There was a trace of embarrassment on Simu's face. Senior brother is still in Jiquan town and has not returned to the sect with his disciples this time. You go back and tell him that my aunt has been waiting for him for 20 years. If he continues to push back, I will personally capture him and marry him to my aunt. The old Taoist nun had a cold look on her face, and her tone was fiery, a bit like Master Miu's wife. Yes, this disciple must convey Uncle Master's golden edict to senior brother word for word. The old Taoist nun nodded. Is this your disciple? Yes. Without the need for Taoist priest Simu to explain, Su Junming had already taken 2 steps forward obediently and bowed again. Disciple Su Junming, see Grand Master Sun. After looking up and down, the old Taoist nun nodded. My qualifications are much better than your idiot master. There was a trace of bitterness on Simu's face. Su Junming was the lowest in cultivation and seniority, so he didn't dare to say anything. Go in. Among them are the 7 Taoist methods of our sect, the 36 authentic talismans, the practice notes of our predecessors, and various classics collected by our sect over the past 2,000 years. You can only choose one of the 7 Taoist methods. Practice, you can choose 3 of the 36 true talismans to practice, you can refer to the practice notes and various classics of the ancestors for a month. Simu had told him this before he came, and Su Junming was not surprised. Yes, disciple, remember this. The old Taoist nun waved her hand impatiently. Su Junming turned around and signaled to the master, then walked around the old Taoist nun from the left passage and came to the deputy pavilion at the back. Take a deep breath and open the door. Facing the front is an extremely grand hall. The main hall is about 20 feet long, 18 feet wide, and 1 foot 8 high. It is divided into 2 parts on the left and right by a corridor 5 meters wide. There are wooden partitions on both sides of the corridor, and there is a faint spiritual light in them. It is obvious that restrictions have been imposed on them. Su Junming took a general look and saw that there were 36 compartments on the left side of the corridor. There was a wooden sign hung in front of the door of each compartment, and the wooden sign of the compartment closest to him was engraved with the 4 words Great Power Talisman in traditional Chinese. Next is the Demon Slaying Sword Talisman, followed by the Fire Crow Talisman, Flying Crane Talisman, Sunfan Talisman, etc., all of which are Mission 36 true talismans. There are 18 stalls on the right side of the corridor. The wooden signs on the gatehouse are gold, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, thunder, yin, yang, illusion, alchemy, weapon making, formation, demons, spiritual objects, beast control, Kimandungia, and sect anecdotes. Su Junming walked and looked around. After passing through the main hall along the corridor, there was another layer of palace pavilion facing inward. Compared with the wooden doors and walls in front of it, the entire palace on this floor is made of fine iron. There is a faint spiritual light inside, and you can clearly feel the tyrannical restrictions within it without using your spiritual consciousness. Squeak. Pushing open the heavy door, there are 2 heavenly generals 1 foot tall, wearing golden helmets and golden armor, holding whips and swords. The moment Su Junming came in, the eyes of the two heavenly generals shot out four golden lights. A powerful mana burst out instantly. Su Junming was shocked. Before he had time to react, the Nine Elders' God Fire Seal talisman that had been floating above his dantian flashed red. As soon as the golden and red light collided, the two heavenly generals who were so powerful that they were about to fight suddenly fell silent. Su Junming looked at the general in front of him in surprise, and cold sweat broke out on his back. The powerful magic power just now was the only one he had ever seen in his life. If he was really whipped, his brains would burst. Are they puppets? Su Junming, who did not sense the breath of life from this general, secretly guessed in his heart. After calming down, he looked around. In a hall that is about 200 to 300 square meters in size, there are no less than 30 such puppets scattered in every corner of the hall. In addition to these puppets, there are 8 lotus-shaped altars placed in the main hall according to the Bagua directions. Each lotus-shaped altar is 3 meters in diameter, suspended half a foot in the air, and floats in the hall. In addition, the color of each lotus altar is also different. They are made of 8 colors: gold, white, black, purple, red, blue, green and cyan. The golden altar is full of yang energy and is obviously the place where the pure yang bagua is stored. The white spiritual light was faint, exuding a sense of piety, and it was obviously the place where the god's true art was located. The black one is the Xuanyan ghost-slaying sword, the purple one is the Shangqing Shenlei method, the red one is the sacred fire order, the blue one is the Tianyi Shen Shui Jing, and the green one is the wood pole dharma. Needless to say, the blue one is the location of mission's fundamental teaching, the Shangqing Daidong Sutra. Following what his master's eyes told him, Su Junming strode up to the blue lotus, silently used the power of the Deng Zhenju, stretched out his hand and touched the lotus, and the green light suddenly surged. A strong suction force came, and Su Junming's figure was involuntarily submerged into it. There was a blur in front of my eyes, but when I looked again, the scenery had changed. An airtight room of about 100 square meters, with walls made of rocks, appeared in front of him. Half of the room is filled with bookshelves and half with futons. 5 luminous pearls on the top illuminate the entire space. A stone lotus flower that is only 3 feet in appearance but has a space of 100 square meters inside is obviously the result of the creation of the Hushan talisman. The way of space is really wonderful. After personally experiencing the magic of the Hushan talisman, Su Junming became more and more yearning for it. After a long time, Su Junming calmed down and walked to the bookshelf. A gold book is obviously different from the jade slips piled next to it. Raise your hand to take it out and unfold it. On the left side is a line of elegant Han scribes, Shangqing Daidong Zhenjing. The following content is divided into 5 parts. The first chapter is the foundation building chapter, which is the Deng Zhenju practiced by Su Junming. The second chapter is the Xiantian chapter. The third chapter is not called the Golden Elixir chapter. Mission is a talisman seal section unlike the Danding sect, which is innately perfect and must condense the flawless golden elixir in the Dantian after breaking through the realm. It uses the talisman seal seeds it has comprehended and combines them with mana to create its own talisman seal script. Therefore, this chapter in the Shangqing Daidong Sutra is called the Preview of the Truth, which means, to glimpse the true meaning of the Great Dao. The fourth chapter is not called the Nascent Soul chapter, but is called the Dongzhen chapter. The fifth chapter is similar to the Danding sect in that they are all called Yuan Shen, so it is called the Yuan Shen chapter. These 5 chapters are the entire contents of the Shangqing Great Cave scripture. Su Junming read it several times, and after making sure that he remembered it firmly in his mind and would not forget the words, he put the golden book back on the shelf. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 46. Chapter 46 Divine Fire Order. After reading the entire content of the Great Cave Scripture of the Shang-Qing dynasty, Su Junming picked up a jade slip from the shelf. With a surge of magic power, the aura dispersed, and a 1,000-word article appeared in front of him. On the first line on the left, written in fair regular script, is the words Taoist's Hixuan practices, the 7-character summary of the Fundamental Sutra. As the name suggests, this is the cultivation experience left behind by a senior of the sect named Taoist's Hixuan after practicing the Shang-Qing Daidong Sutra, and it is summarized into 7 items. According to Simu, only disciples who have broken into the realm of golden elixir are qualified to leave their practice experience in the Sutra Pavilion. This Taoist's Hixuan is obviously above the golden elixir, and he is also of the Ji generation. According to Mission Nanzong's Hanjing Zijing, Shaorugzhuanzi, Zongdaidadao, gaining self-respect, and Keichong, among the existing 18 generations, this person is the 8th generation. In terms of time, he was a senior in the late Tang and early Song dynasties. After holding the jade slip, he sat down on the futon next to him and looked at it seriously. Time passed bit by bit, and Su Junming couldn't help but let out a long sigh after reading it. After reading this jade slip, he instantly had a deeper understanding of the contents of the last few chapters of the Shang-Qing Great Cave Sutra. This senior is at least in the nascent soul stage. Putting the jade slip aside temporarily, Su Junming moved the bronze mirror and re-examined what he had read before. Then he put the jade slip away and took another one from the shelf. With the aid of the bronze mirror, he could read every jade slip very quickly, and he quickly understood the contents of the Shang-Qing Great Cave Sutra thoroughly. After ensuring that he would not make any mistakes in his future cultivation, Su Junming moved Zhou Tian according to the contents of the Xiantian chapter of the Great Clear Cave Sutra. The magic power that originally operated extremely sluggishly according to the Deng Zhenju became extremely smooth this time. It feels like a Santana that has been driven for 10 years, and a new Maserati. The power is completely different. After carrying it for 20 weeks, Su Junming suppressed his strong desire to continue practicing and forced himself to stop. He only had 1 month, so he couldn't waste time on cultivation. There will be plenty of time after we get out. The plan has been decided. After careful inspection, after nothing was missed, according to the method taught by the 4 Eyes, the mana activated the 9-layered God fire seal, the palm touched the wall, the light flashed in front of the eyes, and the next moment he returned to the previous scene. Main Hall. Looking at the green lotus platform in front of him, Su Junming marveled at it and turned around to look at the other lotus platforms. He already understood the golden light bagua and the Shen de Zhenju. Although he really wanted to see the training notes left by his sex seniors, he only had one chance and couldn't waste it. His eyes wandered between the purple lotus platform and the red lotus platform for a moment, and Su Junming walked towards the red lotus platform with firm steps. Although he really wants the supreme pure divine thunder technique and envies the power of the thunder technique, if he chooses the thunder technique now, then the item refining notes and purple spirit white fire given by his uncle Qian Dinglin will be of less use. Big discount. In the future, I will definitely seize the position of senior brother of the Chong generation. After taking one last look at the purple lotus platform, the figure disappeared into the red lotus platform. With the bronze mirror around, if he still couldn't beat his peers, it would really be an embarrassment to the reborn person. The layout inside the red lotus platform is also similar to the blue lotus platform where the Shang-Qing Great Cave Sutra is stored. Su Junming stepped forward and picked up the most conspicuous golden book, and firmly memorized the 4 talismans of white, blue, red, and orange, as well as the various branches of magic in his heart. Compared with the pure Yang Bagua that Uncle Ju had given him, the Shen de Zhenju passed down by his master's 4 Eyes, and the 4 talismans of the Shen Fire Order had many more spells and magical weapon training methods. Obviously, the number of seniors of our sect who practice this method is far greater than the first two. He memorized the content contained in the Golden Book of the Shenhua order and recited it silently twice. After making sure it was word for word, Su Junming couldn't wait to pick up the jade slip next to him. Sitting cross-legged on the futon, reciting the meditation mantra silently, reflecting the divine light of the bronze mirror on oneself. The spiritual platform is empty and bright, and after the understanding is greatly enhanced, then look at the jade slips. Countless words and images flowed through his mind, and the first white basic talisman of the sacred fire order lifted a layer of mystery in front of him and became clear. As Su Junming continued to look back, a stream of crimson flames appeared beside him. Pieces of jade slips and countless previous experiences were absorbed and understood by him eagerly. Buzz. A ripple appeared in the air, and the stream of flames suddenly became stronger. At this moment, Su Junming's Danshan was surrounded by bronze mirrors, including the 8 diagrams-shaped Pure Yang Talisman, the sword-shaped Swanyan Talisman, the Big Seal-shaped 3 Towns Talisman, and the sword-shaped Demon-Killing Talisman. The Dharma Talisman, the Godly Fighting Talisman in the shape of Gwandi's statue, and the Pure Heart Talisman in the shape of a lotus, all came to a standstill almost at the same time. Between the God's Fighting Talisman and the Pure Heart Talisman, a red, flaming talisman squeezed in. At first, this flame talisman was similar to the Swanyan Talisman formed by the Swanyan Ghost-Slaying Sword and the Pure Heart Talisman formed by the Pure Heart Divine Curse, both of which were 1 foot in size. But under the brilliance of the bronze mirror, this flame talisman grew visibly to the naked eye, 2 feet, 3 feet, 5 feet, 7 feet, 9 feet, 10 feet. The God-Fighting Talisman which exceeds 5 feet, the 9-foot Pure Yang Talisman, the 3 Towns Talisman and the Demon-Slaying Talisman are all 1 foot in size. After the growth stopped, a faint blue light lit up from the core of the flame talisman, and then spread little by little like spring eating away at the leaves, until the entire talisman turned blue. In an instant, the blue light surged, and the 1-foot-sized talisman quickly shrank inward, turning back into a light blue, 1-foot-sized, but more complex talisman. The true meaning of the flame revealed on this talisman was 10 times more powerful than before. Soon, the blue talisman grew as before, but after reaching 3 feet, Su Junming suddenly felt his Danshan sinking, as if a stone was pressing down on him. Opening his eyes, he looked at the mostly unseen training manuals of his predecessors and sighed secretly. Taoism emphasizes the dual cultivation of life and life, and the integration of the 3 treasures of essence, energy, and spirit. Now his understanding of the great way of fire has far exceeded his own cultivation. If he continues forcibly, his body will disintegrate. What a pity for this rare opportunity. Although he was reluctant to part with it, his own life was more important after all. After clearing his mind, Su Junming sorted out the jade slips he had seen and put them back on the shelf. After taking one last look, he turned around and walked out of the Red Lotus platform. Standing in the main hall, looking at the other 6 lotus terraces, his eyes were filled with fire. If given the chance, with the help of the bronze mirror, he would be able to understand these 7 Taoist techniques in a few days and form the blue fundamental talisman in his Danshan. I will definitely take the position of Chang's senior brother. After making up his mind, Su Junming turned around and walked out of the hall resolutely. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 47. Chapter 47, Hu Tian Talisman. As soon as he went out, a short and fat guy with a pair of eyebrows and a mustache, who looked slightly similar to Tai Genren in Neza, the devil boy comes to the world that he had watched in his previous life, hurried over. Su Junming suddenly opened the door and came out, and the two almost bumped into each other. Sorry, cousin, I didn't bump into you, did I? Speaking in northern Shaanxi dialect, Su Junming sounded quite friendly. Fine. Stepping aside, the fat man thanked him and walked into the hall. Looking at the closed door, Su Junming shook his head. He thought he was the only one in the entire sutra pavilion. Putting some trivial matters behind him, Su Junming walked straight towards the compartment where the Huishan talisman was located. Pushing the door open, there is no colorful lotus platform or space formation. In a space of about 100 square meters, there is a row of shelves against the wall, plus a row of 9 futons. Su Junming took a look at the shelf and found that apart from a golden book, there were only less than 10 jade slips recording the cultivation experience of his predecessors. Compared with the more than 100 pieces of the Shangqing Great Cave Scripture and Shenhuoling, they are simply pitiful. He stepped forward to pick up the golden book and opened it. The 3 basic symbols of white, blue, and red came into view. It only needs the orange basic talisman to become a Taoist method that leads directly to the fairyland. Looking carefully, the Huishan talisman, even if it is just a white basic talisman, is much more complicated than the white basic talismans of Taoism such as the Shenhuoling and Pure Yang Bagua. In addition, compared with the Shen de Zhenju and Pure Yang Bagua, each of which can derive 6 or 7 magic spells from each basic talisman, the Huishan talisman can only derive 3 magic spells. The first one is the divine movement technique, which is also commonly known as teleportation. It can be used as long as you understand the white fundamental talisman. It is only 10 meters at the beginning. If you understand the peak of the white fundamental talisman, it will be 100 meters. If one can understand the blue fundamental talisman stage, one step will be 1,000 meters away. The deeper one understands the way of space, the farther the distance will be. The second one is the Hutian technique, which is the space opening method of mustard na sumi that Su Junming longs for most. But you must understand the blue fundamental talisman before you can use it, and you must have an innate spiritual object that gathers the 5 elements. To avoid this restriction, one must master the higher level red basic talisman. The third one is the escape technique, which can be used after understanding the red basic talisman. When facing an enemy at the last moment, you can instantly open up a hiding space. You can not only hide your body from being noticed by the enemy, but also avoid attacks such as earth, water, wind, and fire. It has endless magical uses. The passages of text, all the extraordinary means of the way of space, only made Su Junming's heart boil with excitement, and he wished he could cultivate the red talisman now. After reading it several times and memorizing its contents, I took all the cultivation notes on the shelf into my hands. I randomly found a futon and sat down in the lotus position, silently reciting the meditation mantra to calm my mind, and used a bronze mirror to help me realize my enlightenment. The magic power activated the first jade slip, and a few hundred words appeared in front of my eyes. As he began to comprehend, a thin black thread, like light and electricity, suddenly appeared beside him. At first, this filament is almost invisible, but as time goes by, it becomes more and more dense and clear. When Su Junming finished reading the 5th jade slip, a talisman that was as black as ink and shaped like a piece of paper appeared in his Danshan Ki. As soon as the talisman appeared, it planned to occupy the center of the bronze mirror, but was hit by a white light from the bronze mirror and hit the corner. But he flew back soon. After suffering a loss, he did not dare to provoke any more and stopped next to the bronze mirror. If the 3 towns talisman and flame talisman are 1 foot away from the bronze mirror, the Huishan talisman is only 5 feet away. After Su Junming read all the jade slips, he found that the Huishan talisman had grown to the size of 7 feet. Looking at the jade slips scattered in front of him, he frowned slightly. Most of these jade slips describe the practice experience of the white fundamental talisman of the Huishan talisman, and only 2 involve the blue fundamental talisman. The Dao of space that he dabbled in could only allow him to comprehend the Huishan talisman to its current 7-foot size. Looks like you have to rely on yourself from now on. The way of space is really difficult to comprehend. If there was no bronze mirror, Su Junming would probably not touch it. After leaving the door, he looked at the room where the remaining 35 true talismans were located. Originally, he planned to choose a flying talisman, but now that he has the divine movement technique of the Huishan talisman, he naturally doesn't need it. In terms of protection, among the golden light Bagua taught by Uncle Ju, there is a Bagua body protection technique, which is the golden Bagua used by Uncle Ju to resist Shi Jian's lightning thunder fist in the original movie, so there is no need to learn anything new. Of talismans, he has already comprehended the realm of the 3 towns of the 6 towns talisman, which is the pinnacle of the white basic talisman. If there are predecessors' cultivation manuals to guide him, it will not be difficult to break through. But Su Junming was unwilling to waste this rare opportunity for this final shot. Moreover, his current cultivation level is limited. Although he can withstand the blue fundamental talisman, it is only the first stage. The 6 towns talisman is not the best choice. In the same way, there is the Demon Slayer talisman. Although it is a basic talisman, in the past 4 years, I have understood the peak of the white basic talisman. By then, I only need to get the Demon Slayer sword talisman from Uncle Ju. With the method of cultivation, breaking through to the blue fundamental talisman is an instant matter. I excluded the demon slaying sword talisman and the 6 towns talisman. Considering that I will deal with monsters and zombies more in the future, there is also a soul restraining talisman given by Yang Xian in the deerskin bag, so I chose it easily. Got the soul binding talisman. For the last talisman, he chose the puppet talisman after thinking for a long time. This talisman is the fundamental talisman for cultivating the guardian gods and Taoist soldiers, and is a real weapon for group fights. Back in Jiquan Town Church, if he had had a helper by his side, he wouldn't have almost died there. It's just that the puppet talisman is difficult to understand, and the spiritual beasts and spiritual objects that can be trained into Dharma protectors and Taoist soldiers are extremely rare. Among the hundreds of disciples of Mission Inner Sect, only a few can master this method. However, Su Junming has a bronze mirror in his hand, so it is not difficult to understand. Moreover, he knew that there was a black zombie in Renjia town and a bronze armored corpse in Nyodishan. They were both good materials for training the protector gods and Taoist soldiers. The latter is now difficult to obtain, but the former is easier to obtain, but more difficult to find. I wonder if Uncle Ju will move the dojo to Renjia town when he moves it. He shook his head, opened the door and walked out. Although the jade slips in the puppet talisman and soul binding talisman that record the cultivation experience of previous generations are not as good as those in the Shenhuoling and Shangqing Great Cave scripture, there are still hundreds of them. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 48. Chapter 48, The Road Ahead. With the help of the bronze mirror, Su Junming quickly understood the 2 magic talismans and reached the peak of what his body and magic power could bear. As his heart moved, the sound of chains suddenly arose, and a black iron chain as thick as an arm suddenly flew out from the void behind him, like a long snake, circling and dancing, rotating as he pleased. The blue basic talisman is already at the level of the natal talisman and seal, which represents a deeper understanding of the Great Road. You can use the magic of the natal talisman and seal without drawing the talisman. As for this chain, it is the manifestation of the soul-binding talisman, which can arrest ghosts and capture their souls. As long as the spiritual practice of the practitioner does not exceed his, anyone caught by this chain will never be able to escape. Su Junming's expression changed and he quickly took back the chain. Damn it, the soul-binding talisman in the blue basic talisman state consumes too much mana. He only exerted all his strength for 5 or 6 seconds, and half of the mana in his dantian was consumed. As expected, the blue talisman that can only be used by golden core stage monks is not something he can move lightly now. But even so, at critical moments, the soul-binding talisman in the blue talisman state can be of great use, especially when dealing with those monsters that are physically strong but mentally weak. Just like last time in Jiquan Town, he had to deal with the Western Infernal Bone. If he had the means now, he could just use the soul-binding chain to pull out his possessed soul. Without a strong physical support, he could easily suppress it. After testing his newly cultivated soul-absorbing talisman, and then taking out the soul-absorbing talisman that Yang Xian had given him, Su Junming instantly felt a lot more vulgar. With the same material, if he were to draw it, the power of the soul-binding talisman would definitely be several times that of what it is now. The puppet talisman is different from the soul-binding talisman. If you understand the latter, you can restrain the soul, and if you understand the former, you can multi-purpose. The white basic talisman can only be used for 3 purposes, while the blue basic talisman can be used for 6 purposes. Although Su Junming understood the blue basic talisman of the puppet talisman, it was only in the early stage. He could control up to 4 puppets, and the distance could not exceed 1 kilometer, otherwise contact would be lost. New inner sect disciples can practice one Taoist method, and Su Junming has used up all the opportunities to teach the 3 Taoist talismans. He didn't try to find the 4th door. It was better not to exploit this kind of loophole under the nose of another Jindan elder. Look inside the Danshan. In addition to the previous Pure Yang talisman that represents the golden light Bagua, the Swanyan talisman that represents the Swanyan ghost-slaying sword, the God's fighting talisman that represents the true secret of God's fighting, the demon-killing talisman, and the 3 towns talisman, the pure mind talisman derived from the pure mind mantra. In his Danshan, he added the fire talisman that represents the divine fire order, the Huishan talisman that represents the way of space, the puppet talisman that represents the way of puppets, and the soul-binding talisman that represents the way of the soul. The fire talisman, puppet talisman and soul-binding talisman have all reached the peak that his body and mana can bear, so don't worry about them for now. The demon-slaying talisman is only a basic talisman, and the peak of the white talisman is the limit. Unless Su Junming can spend time to understand it on his own, or get the method of practicing the demon-slaying sword talisman from Uncle Ju, he can break through to the blue talisman. Symbol. Understanding it on your own is too labor-intensive and time-consuming, and the latter is obviously easier. The 3 towns talisman is now also a perfect white talisman of 1 foot, and it is only 1 step away from breaking into the blue talisman stage. Although Su Junming did not see the cultivation method of the blue basic talisman stage of the 6 towns talisman, as long as you work hard, the final breakthrough is not too difficult. After all, it is different from the demon-slaying talisman. The demon-slaying talisman is just a basic talisman. If you don't know how to practice the demon-slaying sword talisman, there will be no way forward. Su Junming needs to find it himself. The 6 suppressing talisman is a fusion of the 6 talismans of suppressing ghosts, suppressing corpses, confining, suppressing monsters, suppressing magic, and confining spirits. As long as he can use the 3 talismans of suppressing ghosts, suppressing corpses, and confining spirits, and then fuse the other 6 kinds of talismans and seals, the 3-town talisman can be turned into the 4-town talisman, and then the 5-town, 6-town, and finally complete. The Pure Yang talisman has reached 9 feet, and is only 1 foot away from reaching perfection. The Huishan talisman is currently 7 feet, which should be considered the 3rd stage. It is 1 foot away from perfection, and Su Junming doesn't know how long it will take. It is too difficult to comprehend the way of space. The divine fighting talisman is only 5 feet. According to the 4I teaching, this is already the 2nd stage of perfection. If it reaches 6 feet, it is the 3rd stage. However, it is still far away from the peak of the white fundamental talisman. The Pure Mind talisman is a talisman he learned from the 8 great Taoist mantras, the Pure Heart talisman. It is only 3 feet long now. Because there is no reference, we can only move forward gropingly, so progress is slow. The Swanyan talisman is a talisman he understood from the Swanyan ghost-slaying sword talisman left behind by the Dragon Slayer. It is currently only 1 foot long. Originally, Su Junming wanted to use it to fuse his Demon Slayer talisman to make it go 1 step further. Later, after understanding the Xianying Ghost Slayer, I realized that the two sides were not the same thing at all. The demon-killing talisman follows the golden element of the five elements, while the Xuanyan ghost-slaying sword coincides with the Xuanyan way of Taiyin, Shayin, and Xuanyan. Therefore, unless he had free time in the future, he would give up on unplanned Taoist techniques like the Xuanyan Ghost Slayer sword. In the following training time, among the 10 talisman seeds in his danshan, the comprehension of the Pure Yang talisman, God's Fighting talisman, Huishan talisman, and Pure Heart talisman ranked the most important. Study for 2 hours every day. Each of the 8 Taoist divine mantras has a magical effect. The Pure Mind mantra is the fundamental mantra that calms the mind and subdues inner demons. In Taoist practice, every time after nascent soul breaks through, he not only has to experience the 3 severe disasters of wind, fire, and thunder, but also experiences the calamity of inner demons. Naturally, the 3 disasters of wind, fire, and thunder can be resisted by various Taoist methods that Su Junming has learned. However, in this calamity of inner demons, all Taoist methods are not very effective. Only the Pure Mind mantra and its corresponding path of purity are the most useful. For the sake of his future path, Su Junming took it as his foundation to practice from the beginning. It's just that this mind-purifying mantra is easy to learn but difficult to master, and he has no ready-made practice method, let alone previous practice experience to refer to. It is not easy to achieve great achievements. The fire talisman corresponding to the divine fire order is also the fundamental Taoist method that Su Junming plans to practice intensively in the future. It's just limited to cultivation, so I'll put it aside for now. Except for the discarded Xianyin talisman, the 3 towns talisman, puppet talisman, soul binding talisman, including the demon slayer sword talisman are all ways to protect the Tao and are not intended to be used as a foundation for practice. If you usually have time, use it to meditate. If you don't have time, give up. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest for us. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 49. Chapter 49 Taoist Jade Tiger. Having decided on the rules for future practice, Su Junming felt happy, and not only did he not feel tired, but was extremely excited. By counting, I have been in the Sutra Pavilion for nearly 20 days. There are still 10 days left that cannot be wasted. He raised his eyes and looked at the 18 lofts opposite, selected the room of Chi Mendunjia and walked in. The method of calculation has always been mysterious. He had a bronze mirror in hand and wanted to try it. It's a pity that many of the classics in it are written in text and do not have talismans and seals, so it takes a lot of effort to understand them. In the Chi Mendunjia, I found a calculation technique of Taiyi Bagua. Compared with Ziwei Do Shu, Tai Shen Shu, Lu Ren's technique, Kanyu technique, etc., Su Junming, who practices the Chunyang Bagua and has gradually gained a deeper understanding of the Bagua formation, is obviously more suitable to practice the Tai Bagua. Because there were not many previous annotations, Su Junming just memorized the contents and then went to the fantasy compartment next door. After staying there for 2 days, he went to the fantasy compartment. Illusion has always been mysterious. Mission Nanzong has no inheritance. The compartment with the word Huan is more of an introduction. There are some illusions, but they are all techniques and cannot rise to the level of Tao, so they are not included in the Mission 36 among the true teachings. Taoism is even worse. In the last 4 days, Su Junming spent 2 days each in weapon refining and elixir refining. 10 days finally passed. During this last period, although he had not developed any skills or magical powers, his vision and knowledge had improved by more than 1 level. From now on, when I walk in the spiritual world, I won't be ridiculed for this. Su Junming, the 1-month period has arrived, come out. A familiar voice suddenly sounded in my ears. What a wonderful sound transmission technique. Su Junming thought of the sound transmission talisman he had seen. Disciple, obey. After answering, he put down the Western Kunlun scenery examination in his hand, tidied his clothes and prepared to go out. But as soon as his left foot stepped out, it quickly stopped. The monks in the Golden Core realm have amazing spiritual awareness. Although they cannot see through my specific cultivation level, they can sense the changes in my breath. If she knew about it, I would have understood the sacred fire order, puppet talisman and the blue fundamental talisman of the soul-absorbing talisman. I don't know how much trouble it will cause. Su Junming, who didn't want his secret to be known, looked inside his danshan, pondered for a moment, and used a three-town talisman. Although this magic talisman cannot stop the powerful spiritual consciousness of the Jindan monk, but he is a junior disciple and not an enemy, so the old Taoist woman will not use force. If you just look at it, it is enough. After sealing all the breath inside, he nodded with satisfaction, opened the door and walked out. After taking a detour, the master was already waiting here. The old Taoist woman next to me also looked over. With her level, she could naturally see the changes in Su Junming. You little guy are as cunning as your master. Knowing that she was talking about sealing his danshan with the three towns talisman, Su Junming smiled and said nothing more. Uncle Sun, this disciple is resigning. The old Taoist woman waved her hand casually. Let's go, remember what I told you. Yes. Disciple must convey your words to senior brother word for word. Simu nodded quickly. Su Junming bowed and walked out with his eyes. Etc. Master and disciple stopped at the same time. The old Taoist woman waved her hand and created a stream of light. Su Junming subconsciously caught it. This Biang pill is what I had left over from back then. I can't use it now, so I'll give it to you. Take it, and with another year of hard work, you can advance to the middle stage of Xiantian. Su Junming had already learned about the wonders of Biang pill from Yang Xian. This secret medicine from Mission, which is made from thousand-year-old red fruits as the main ingredient and combined with 24 elixirs, has amazing medicinal properties. Especially for a cultivator like him who has just entered Xiantian, if he has the Biang pill to improve his skills, it can save most of his training time. Disciple, thank you so much, Grand Master. Su Junming was so happy that he bowed his head to the ground. Your master, Li Changdao, was also the seat of our Mission Southern Sect's true inheritance back then. Your master, Lin Fengqiao, although stubborn and old-fashioned, was also a leader among my Mission K generation. Now, as a second disciple, you also need to practice hard and don't lose to that little guy named Lu Changqing. Yes. Disciple, I will follow the teachings of Grand Master Uncle, work hard to practice, and live up to the grace of Grand Master Uncle in giving medicine. As long as you know what's going on, go ahead. Su Junming nodded, bent down, took 3 steps back, then turned around and followed Simu out of the Dharma transfer hall. Call. After nearly a kilometer away, I took a deep breath and relaxed. Obviously, he was very depressed in front of the old Taoist woman. Master, is the Grand Master just now the master of my concubine? Well. If not, how could they give you this Biang pill? It turns out it's Iwajiwu. I thought Uncle Grand Master was optimistic about my qualifications. The 4 eyes slapped him on the back of the head. You brat, stop being narcissistic. With this white yang pill, during the small competition between the northern and southern sects of Mission Mountain in Changchun Valley, you won't be able to reach the middle stage of Xiantian. I will settle the score with you again. Master, didn't Grandmaster say that after taking this white yang pill, it would take another year of hard work to advance to the middle stage of Xiantian? You just deducted 7 months from me. Don't you call yourself a genius? How can a genius be compared with a mortal? Simu said matter-of-factly. Su Junming rolled his eyes, his feelings were waiting for him here. By the way, Master, is Grand Master Uncle a disciple of the self-generation? Well, your Grand Master's uncle's Taoist name is Zai Wu. His family name is Sun and his given name is Changjing. However, people in the spiritual world are more accustomed to calling him Taoist Jade Tiger. Taoist Yahoo? Why? He looked around and then lowered his voice. Although your Grand Master Uncle is a woman, he has a hot temper. When the Sanchen Fuzuan sects destroyed the White Lotus sect, your Grand Master Uncle killed the most, just like a female tiger. Later, he broke into the golden elixir and became self as the first and only Jindan cultivator in his generation. The cultivating community calls him Jade Tiger as a sign of respect. I see. So, Grand Master Uncle was the senior elder sister of the Zi generation back then. Then why didn't Grand Master Uncle become the leader? Your Grand Master Uncle was not interested in being the leader, so he gave it to his junior brother, who is now Zhao Lai, the leader of mission. Su Jun nodded clearly. You brat, you went in, which method did you choose? The disciple chose the sacred fire order. The divine fire order is indeed suitable for you. After a pause, a rare seriousness appeared on his four-eyed face. Junming, although my master taught you the way of divine fighting and your uncle taught you the pure Yang Bagua, if you feel that the sacred fire order is more suitable for you, then don't hesitate when it comes to making a choice. There must be no carelessness in matters on the road. Su Junming nodded seriously. Master, don't worry, my disciple understands. The expression on Simu's face relaxed. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 50. Chapter 50 Biang Pil. Where are the three talismans? The disciple chose the puppet talisman, soul binding talisman and Huishan talisman. The puppet talisman and the soul binding talisman are not difficult to understand with your qualifications, but the Huishan talisman involves the way of space. Since our mission southern sect has been established, there are only a few people who have mastered this way. Man, although you have amazing qualifications, you should not be too persistent and delay your own path. Master, don't worry, no matter how much my disciple likes the Huishan talisman, he will never make fun of his own path. As long as you know. The two of them talked as they walked back to Muwuju. Meditate and adjust your breath for a day, and then take the Biang Pil after restoring your energy and spirit to its peak, Simu ordered worriedly. Su Junming nodded and returned to his room on the second floor. Come to sit down on the futon next to the window, and move the heavens according to the Xiantian chapter contained in the Shangqing Daidong Sutra. Use magic power to nourish and strengthen the physical body. At the same time, visualize yourself and exercise your spirit. Resume the past month's practice. The mind and energy consumed by Tao. The day passed quickly, and just after midnight, Su Junming slowly opened his eyes with a long breath. 2 inches of cold electricity flashed across the dark room. Feeling the abundant mana in his body and the overflowing spirit in his mind, he secretly said in his heart, it's time. He took out the Biang Pil given by Sun Changjing, the Jade Tiger Taoist, from the deerskin bag. After breaking the seal on the jade bottle and removing the stopper, an astonishing aroma of medicine entered his mouth and nose. Su Junming instantly felt that his mind was a little clearer, and the mana in his danchan was surging, as if he was making progress again. What an amazing medicine! He tilted his left hand, and a snow-white pill the size of a longan rolled down from his palm. The elixir's spiritual light was faint, and the medicinal energy condensed. Su Junming did not dare to neglect and quickly swallowed it. The Biang Pil fell straight into the spleen and stomach. After a short time, a hot stream of inflammation flowed from the stomach to the limbs and bones like lightning. Taking this opportunity, he quickly transferred the super clear mana in his danchan to absorb the medicinal properties, warm his body, and increase his practice. This practice lasts 3 days. At this time, the danchan space, which was only the size of an acres of land, had grown by about 3/5 compared to before. According to the records of the Shangqing Daidong Sutra, when he can grow his Danshan to 3 acres, he has reached the middle stage of Xiantian. Danshan is the fundamental place for Taoists. The larger the Danshan, the higher the efficiency of absorbing and transforming spiritual energy. Therefore, the process of cultivating Taoist magic power is the process of continuously expanding the Danshan. Before Su Junming started practicing Taoism, his Danshan was only 7 feet long, and he was only considered a middle-aged person. There is no way to compare with those geniuses who are 9 feet, 10 feet, or even 1 acre in the beginning. Fortunately, he had a bronze mirror to assist him in enlightenment, so he spent all his time on cultivation, and with the aid of Taoist priest Four Eyes from time to time with pills, it finally took him more than 3 years to advance to Xiantian. Now coupled with the Biang pill, his progress in magical power, although not top-notch, is still top-notch among the various sects in the spiritual world. I also have 100 pills of Huanja pill that I got from Tulong. Although the efficacy is far less than that of Biang pill, it should be enough for me to break through the middle stage of Xiantian before the Changchun Valley competition. Su Junming was convinced and stood up. If he could win the Millennium Vermilion Fruit in the competition and let Yang Xian practice the Biang pill, his speed of advancing to the late stage of Xiantian would be shortened by more than half. Coupled with the Taoist realm that is far beyond the innate, it is a certainty to compete for the position of the Chang senior brother in 5 years. After thinking about the glorious future, Su Junming calmed down and came down from the 2nd floor. Hearing the sound, Shimu, who was sitting cross-legged on the futon in the middle of the living room, opened his eyes. Although he was protected by formations and it was an important place in the inner gate of Luofu Mountain, he had not relaxed at all for the past 3 days and had been protecting Su Junming. Seeing him waving, Su Junming walked over and sat down on an empty futon next to him. After examining his disciple, he nodded with satisfaction. Biang pill is indeed the holy medicine of our section. With 1 pill, you will have accumulated more than half of your initial innate mana. Thank you so much, Uncle Sun. That's right. If it weren't for her old man's elixir, you wouldn't have the magic power you have now. He touched his chin with 4 eyes, with a smile on his face. My uncle is married, and by then our master and disciple will be worthy of your great Uncle Sun's gift of medicine. Uncle Ju's serious face with Chinese characters appeared in his mind, and Su Junming nodded in agreement. I feel that my uncle is probably also interested in my aunt and uncle, but he refused at first, but now he can't save face and just nodded. It makes sense. However, your uncle is the most rigid person, with a bad temper and a tough temper. If you ask him to agree, it will be as difficult as climbing to the sky without saying anything, but it won't be much different. Su Junming smiled. It's simple. Just find an opportunity and let your uncle and your concubine cook the rice. His eyes suddenly widened and stared at him. Seeing him like this, Su Junming felt quite uneasy, thinking that he had said the wrong thing. If you feel bad, we can find another way. Ha ha. A sudden long laugh interrupted his words. He patted his disciple vigorously on the shoulder. Junming, you still have a way. Why didn't I think of such a simple thing before? Just do it. Su Junming breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that his master was unwilling. He rubbed his shoulder, which was a little sore from being slapped. Master, please don't say it's my attention, otherwise I will have to beat me to death. Don't worry, don't worry. The master will definitely take care of it for you. Haha, when this is done, I will definitely take you to your aunt and uncle's place to show off your merits, and I will also give you some good things. You, my aunt and uncle, have a good family background and are supported by Uncle Sun. They are not poor people like me and your uncle. This couldn't be better. Although Su Junming is not a greedy person, he is not a fool who gets what he wants but doesn't want it. Moreover, Uncle Ju and Auntie Ju were going to get together sooner or later. he just let them get there a little earlier, so it wasn't a big mistake. The master and the disciple had already decided on the plan, so they stopped continuing this topic. Now that you have received the seal, and have learned the Taoism and the true secrets, it's time for us to go back. Four Eyes said. Master, I want to wander outside for a while before going back. His eyes were slightly stunned, and he looked at his apprentice's serious look. After thinking about it for a while, he nodded. The rules of our mission sect are that outer disciples have studied Taoism for 10 years and have mastered the Deng Zhenju. They have mastered 7 or more basic talismans such as corpse suppression, demon slaying, ghost suppression, flying crane, fire igniting, house suppression, and evil spirits. With the basic Taoist rituals, you can become a teacher and practice the Tao. Now that you are innate and have already mastered many basic Taoist methods, you really should go out and travel to increase your knowledge and accumulate virtue. Thank you, Master, for your success. Four Eyes waved his hands. Don't worry yet. In our mission, disciples at the innate stage are qualified to accept disciples and preach. If you meet a disciple you like outside, remember to take him under his section. Master, I have just entered Xiantian. I haven't figured out my own affairs yet, so I'd better not mislead others. After all, you have to make your own decision on this matter. However, as a disciple of mission, it is your responsibility to recruit disciples and teach and strengthen the section. You must remember it. Su Junming nodded. We will talk about the future in the future. Anyway, he has no plans to accept apprentices yet.